All right. So again, I'm Ainali. I'm a long-term Wikimedia editor. I edit a lot on Wikidata, and I stream a little bit. And I'm also in the advisory committee for OpenRefine. And I want to start by showing the website for OpenRefine because that's a really good place to get started. Because here you can actually download the software for whatever you have, and there's also good documentation, and it's a way to reach the community, so that could be very handy. But for Wikimedians, there's actually an even better way to start, and that is on let me see, do I see the chat somewhere? No. Here. So first I'll share the link to get to the OpenRefine. And there's also in hubs, or pause even, it's called, a way to run OpenRefine on the Wikimedia platforms. So you don't even have to install it. You only need to have a Wikimedia account. And that's available on hub.pause.wmcloud.org. And you have to give access for Wikimedia to use that. But if you do that, you'll get to this screen. And here you see, and one of the advantages with this is that you have your data and your projects in the cloud, so you can work on from any computer. So here you see all my old projects. And there are more things you can use here than just OpenRefine, but today we're going to use OpenRefine. And before heading in there, there's a little bit of the workflow that might be good to know. Because OpenRefine is a tool that cleans up data. That's what the strong part is. Like they're really good with doing that, having messy data and transform that data. So it's sort of like a few steps always in the process. You find your data and you import it into OpenRefine. You explore it, you transform it as you wish, and you reconcile it if you have some external database. Today we're going to look at how you do it with reconciling it to Wikidata. And then you can export the data, and sometimes you want to do this to Wikidata, and that's also what we're going to do today, but you can do it to export it to some other application. It's even possible to edit on Wikimedia Commons, and soon we're going to be able to upload images as well. So here I'm just going to click on OpenRefine to launch the thing. And while this is loading, that was very quick. And the first step is that OpenRefine wants some data to work on. And it's very good in actually importing different kinds of data. It sometimes even can grab data directly from a URL. You can always try that if you have a table somewhere or some data on a URL. You can paste some in the clipboard, or you can even connect to a database and you tell it how it works and give it access to it. Today we're going to use one file, and I'm just going to quickly show you here. The page is in Swedish, but you don't really need to understand what it is. It's students in universities in Sweden. And I was thinking, oh yes, we have all the universities as items, but we don't have how many students there are. And we do have a property for that on Wikidata. So that's a very useful thing that we could add. So that's what we're going to try to do today. So I have downloaded this, and I got a CSV from that. And I'll see if I can show you how it looks like. And always when you get data, like the more messy it is, the more you need to clean it. And sometimes you can even clean things before importing. So what I did here, there was some data that I knew this is only in the way. So I just deleted a few columns from this one. But this is how the data looks. It's a CSV file. So this is what I'm going to try to import. So let me head over here back to OpenRefine again. I'm going to, and this is in Swedish. unfortunately, it recognized. OpenRefine is available in 15 languages, so it will recognize your browser. And you run the OpenRefine in the browser. So let me click here to select files. Do I get to select file? There I go. And I want to go latest, not there. I have it in documents. There we have it. All right. So, and then I'll click next. There's a little bit of a mix there. Maybe it's not totally translated to Swedish yet. So now it uploads the data and it gives me a preview of what it looks like. One thing here immediately that might be good to take note of is, did it recognize your header? Here it actually did. So this is the headers and these are the values. You can change this to 0 if there are no headers, or if you have like 3 rows of headers, you can change it to 3. If it splits the columns differently, you can change that as well over here. And then there's like, depending on what kind of file, it tried to auto detect here, and it did. But if you have other kinds of files, it will give you options that are relevant to that file type. If it's a RDF or something like that, then, or JSON, how it's structured. And then you can also say, I don't want any blank rows or something like that. But in this case, I'm quite happy. This is what I got. It's only 33 rows. OpenRefine can handle a lot more, and it's actually there where it really shines, because it's it can work with a lot of data, but only display what you need at a time. You could give it a good name here, or tags even if you have a lot of projects, so that you know when you're gonna come back to that. Today I'm just gonna, I think I'm gonna be finished with this project during this little session, so I'm just gonna do it like that and create. And now it open this up in OpenRefine as it is. And now you see it only shows 10 of my rows. And this is because if you have like 70,000 rows or something like that, you don't want to open them all in the browser, and so it would crash. So it has a very effective handling of that. But now when I only have 33, I want to look at all at the same time. So here in the top, you can see, you can click how many do I want. And usually here you start to explore your data and see, what do I want to use this for, or what do I need to transform, and do different kind of edits to this. And there it's a little bit tricky. You can either go in, you see you have an edit button on each of these. So if you need to, you can just click edit and edit the value you see here. And you can apply it to all identical cells as well. But more powerful things are when you go into in the top, in the column heads here, where you can do transform and transform the entire column. There are a few common things like removing blank spaces, white spaces in the ends, or you can change everything to title case, uppercase, very common. If it didn't recognize the format, you can change that as well, or you can set this to be just empty or null even, depending on what you want to do. But under transform here, we're going to see what I'm going to use that soon. But in this particular case, and I guess most often when you're thinking about Wikidata and OpenRefine, is that you, in some sense, you want to upload data to Wikidata. And to do that, we need to reconcile. And what that actually sort of means is, like, we want to match the data with something in Wikidata, so that we know that we're adding it to the right item, or that we are creating new items. And in this case, I know that this column is the university names. So I'm going to try to reconcile this towards Wikidata and see, can OpenRefine figure out which is which? And then here in Swedish it says value, these are the number of students. And that's what I'm going to add. So I'm going to start trying to reconcile this column with Wikidata. And you find that also, you find most of the things here in the top, and it can feel a little bit unintuitive, but after a while you see, you get used to it, get in on here in the top, because that's where you want to work. And in the bottom, we have the reconcile. Menu, and you just, here we just go add to start reconciling. And then you get a different kind of choice here. Where towards what do you want to reconcile? And by default, you only have the Wikidata English. But since I have Swedish name here, I'm going to try to add the Swedish. And you can add more services. So you could go with, and here you see what I have added. I've added Dutch, and I have Norwegian, and I also added Commons to edit structured data on Commons. But for this, Swedish will be best. And then I will try to look at the data and see, all right, what do I, with a quick search, get what kind of type is here? And it suggests, are these state agencies, or are there different kinds of things? Just based on the label, I think. And you can select something here, or you can say, don't select any particular type. And you want to, most often, to auto match so that it actually makes the connection. Sometimes when you have more data, perhaps you have an identifier, you can add more properties here to use for the matching. But in this case, I'll just go with the default and say, start reconciling, do your little bit of magic. And we can see here in the top here, it starts doing something. Maybe I should zoom in a little bit so it gets easier for you to read. That's good. So in this case, it wasn't that much data, so it was quite quick. And what you want to look for here is this green line. You want this one to become complete. And we can see here in the left that it matched 30 and missed 3. And this also gives us an excellent opportunity to look at the facet and filters, because that's also a very powerful feature of OpenRefine, to sort of select a subset of the value and to do a filter, because sometimes you have a large data set and you don't want to upload everything. Perhaps something are already in Wikidata, and sometimes you only want to add new data, or there's only a particular part of it that there are items for and you don't want to create them, new ones. So we can see here that we got 30 matched and 3 not matched. If I click the none here, it's going to select just those 3 rows. So we can see it selected row 2, 6, and 32, which it didn't manage to find a match on Wikidata. Now I happen to know that these are actually on Wikidata, so we're going to try to search for them. But the other option you get here is you can create a new item. Sometimes you want to upload, oh, I know this is not in Wikidata, so let's make a new item and add some data to it in the same go. So that's also a possibility to create items directly from here. But now I will use the search for match here, and it will actually find it when it does a manual search. So that's very good. So I know this is the university we want, and I'll click that one. And it'll match, and then it'll pop out from my facet, because these one are the ones that shows that are not matched yet. And here it gives me a number of different suggestions, but neither of these are the right one. And if you hover over these, it will actually give you the link to Wikidata and possibility to match it. So here I'll go for search again. And now I got this is the right match. So let's go with that. And now only one down to match. So let's see if the search is lucky again. It tries to suggest this one, which is actually an exact match of the label, but the description on Wikidata says that this is a motion from a parliamentarian, whereas this says it is actually the university. So let's go with this. So now we're done. We have all 33 matched, and I can I can keep this one, but I can also just remove the facet because it's only showing everything, so I can click that away. So now OpenRefine knows that this column are about Wikidata items. And this is really good because now it enables us to add data to Wikidata, but it also enables us to get data from Wikidata. And that's sort of a little bit hidden under, you click this again for the things where you have reconciled. So this column is linked. Under edit column here, you can add columns from reconciled values. And I think this is a little bit of a too technical term. It's correct, but that's where it is. But if I click this now, you'll do a quick look at these items on Wikidata and see what kind of properties do they already have values for. And depending on how many you have and how well many properties they have, it can take some time. But here it says suggestions. So, and you can also, if you didn't find it, you can just start typing, I want this property. And what it actually does now, and I'll show you an example. This one is official website. And if I click this now, I get a preview. What does Wikidata have as values for these items on official website? And you can see it shows me all of these, which is really good. So I could use that for something else. I'll remove that now, and I'll see if I can find student count. Oh yes, and I get it in Swedish here. So it's number of students. And we see not everyone has it, but some of them do. So let's bring that column in, and we can do a little quick match and see. And now, yes, so it comes here, and we can see, oh, these are not the same. These are not the same. And probably these are not the same point in time, which tells me a very good thing. Then I should, when I upload this, specify at what point in time was this valid. And luckily we have the year here, but it is formatted a little bit odd. Since I know the Swedish system here, the first HT actually says it's the term for the fall. So in Swedish that would be hösttermin. So this value was valid for the number of students that was registered for the fall term. But this is not a date value, so I need to fix this to be able to use the 2020. Now I could just edit this to 2020, so I could do like this, edit 2020 and apply to all identical cells. Maybe I'll actually do that later, but I'm going to show you another thing that you could do, because this is such an important part of the powerfulness of OpenRefine that I want to go into it. So I showed you before that we had this transform. I didn't click on it. Now we're going to see. So here we have an opportunity to use a different kind of really powerful tools. So we can either use the general refine expression language, we can use Python or Clojure scripts to do transformation on these. I'm going to stick with the grel here. And what I want to do is, oh, and here we also see a preview. I just want to remove these two. And from my working with Sparkle, I suspect there's some sort of functionality or expression where you can just select these four characters, do a substring. So I'm going to switch here to the help menu and see, well, do we have something on substring? And I'm guessing they're in alphabetical order. So let's scroll down here to substring. Yes, here we have it, and a little bit of help text, and it actually tells me how I should do it. So given a string, returns a substring, and I need to say where it starts and where it ends. So that's not too hard, I hope. So let's switch back to the preview. So I want to make a substring here. And the value is the first, and I want it to start, so this is the 0th, 1st, and 2nd. So I want to start at the 2nd and go all the way, and I think that's, is that 5? No, so there's 6. So I see the preview here. And of course, these can be as complex as you want or need. You can have them nested, and you can have different values, and you can add plus and minus, and you can add characters also as well. But in this case, it's fairly easy here just to remove this. And it would have done the same as if I just did one edit here. So if I click OK now here, it'll transform all of these. So now we have 2020. So this is a good point in time here that I can actually use. So now I have my time, I have my value, I have reconciled. That's sort of the base. I'm not going to use the indicator here. It just says how many students was. I'm not going to use this data that I just got from Wikidata. I'm just going to see that there was some data. So now I want to go to the next step. Now I have transformed my data. I have reconciled the data. I think it's in good shape enough to try to import it. Then I need to go to this little thing in the top right corner, where I need to add and it's called a Wikibase schema here. So I want to edit a Wikibase schema, which more or less says, well, how are we going to apply all these values to Wikidata? How will Wikidata know what it is? So I'll click on this, and it'll give us a new tab over here. And I can always go back and see, oh, here's my data, my 33 rows. Then I could go into the schema. And it'll show you all the headers here from the columns. And it's also nice to show you with the green little line that this is a reconciled value. So I'll start by adding an item here, and that's what you need to do to actually get into editing. And you can, it says here, type entity or drag reconciled column. Well, this is the reconciled column. It's green, so it knows, oh, I'm going to get things, items from that one. And then it will actually use the ones that are connected in this column to edit on. Now you can add more things here like labels, descriptions. I'm not going to do that. I want to add a statement instead. So, and it says no statement added yet. So let's add a statement here and see if I can find student count. There we have it. And the amount was this one. I remembered. Let's double check. Yes, that was the one. And now I want to specify that this was for 2020. So I'll add a qualifier. This is going to be point in time. And for the point in time, I'll use this one, the year. Now, this was a very simple case because here we have 2020 in all. You don't really need to be this advanced, so you do it like this here. You could actually, as you see here, it says YYYMMDD, which is year, month, and date. You could just write 2020 here, and that'll work. And just it'll assign that value to all of these. Wait, well, I'll do it like that this time. Yes. But I also know that this was in the fall, so I want to do a refine date is another qualifier that we have. So let's go with refine date and say that this is autumn northern hemisphere. So that will make it very clear for the next person who's coming to this to see exactly at which point in time my value was correct. And then, of course, like with everything on Wikidata, we want to add sources. Sources are really important. That makes the database trusted, and it also makes it verifiable. So I'm going to add a reference here, and I'm going to go with reference URL. And let's see if we can find, there we have that one. And I actually gonna add a retrieved date as well, retrieved. Now I didn't get this one today. Let me check here when I did get it. So I get the right, and won't lie on. I got this one on the 21st of October. So let's go 2022, 10, 21. That was when I downloaded the file when I prepared for this. And you can, of course, go deeper in here with this, with the reference, give it a title or something like that. But I'm happy with this for now. We see now here up, there's some issues, 33 issues. 33 was also the number of rows. So let's see what it says. Units missing. Values such as are expected to have units. That I don't think it is expected to have units. So, but let's have a look at one of these that actually had something before. So let's open this in Wikidata and see how it looks. And we're looking for the number 37,000, number of student 37,000. Does it have units? No, it doesn't have any units here. And if this loads, if I edit it, no, units is not set. So let's see if the property requires us to set units. In the property constraints. No, it does not. So I think OpenRefine in this case is only overly protective towards Wikidata. So it really wants us to be thorough and just don't upload crap data. But in this case, the unit is optional. We don't need to say students. This might be what it always says if it's something that could have a unit. So we're just going to ignore the issues here for now. And now we can also see the preview. So what would it do here? So these are statements that it would try to add. So on this item, it would add students counts, and with this point in time, refine day in autumn, and with the reference here. So this looks really good. Now I want to make sure, since we know that some of these already have values, that we're not sort of overwrite them or writing on the same ones. Now we know they're all different because we have looked at all of them. But sometimes you have very large data sets and you can't possibly scroll through everything. Then there's something you can actually do here in your schema. Under this little cog wheel, the configure thing, you have the kind of editing mode. So, and default, it's add or merge. So it's trying to add a statement or merge what you're adding with what's already in there. But you can also have just add, and that means it will only add it if there are no matching statements. If OpenRefine thinks there's already a statement here, I won't do anything. And then you can actually do the opposite. You could delete. So if you find something that you also selected, you can remove it from OpenRefine. So you can actually use OpenRefine as a complete editing tool here. Now, there's also like, well, when do you consider to have something matched? There's a different kinds of matching strategies. So you could say, well, if it has any value on this property, I consider it matched. And for some types of properties that might make sense. In this case, it would possibly be, well, if I have something that is the same value, I don't want to upload it again because that would be a duplicate. But really, now that I have a point in time, I want to make sure, like, if that also has something that is specified to be in 2020, then I don't want to add anything. But unless it has that, I want to add it because these are values that vary over time. So I want to edit it in more different kinds of ways. And so I'll change from the default of add or merge and property and value to, in this case, to be add and property value and qualifiers. And sometimes if you forget this, you might see, oh, it didn't add a value, or it added a value to something that already existed. Then you can undo the batch and check here instead, so that it edits on the right place. All right. So now I think that's actually, the schema is also done. So we have done the first part, importing and transforming the data. We have done the second part of cleaning up and transforming it and reconciling. And now we're sort of halfway through the last part. We have identified how we want to export this. And now we want to export this, in our case here, to Wikidata. You could do this to another Wikibase. You could download the data to use somewhere else, or you could do it to Wikimedia Commons if you had structured data here. But in this case, it's just normal editing to Wikidata. So we'll go up in the top right corner here again. And here you have the different kinds of you could do. You could export this to quick statements, or you can just upload the edits to Wikibase through OpenRefine and let OpenRefine do the editing. Quick statements might be good. That will allow you to download a file formatted to be imported into quick statements, which is another tool to do uploads. I'm not going to use this here, partly because I want to show OpenRefine, but also because quick statements is not as good as handling qualifiers as OpenRefine. So, and here we have 2 qualifiers, but it's a nice tool and you can do further things there. So in this case, I'm actually just going to press the upload edits to Wikibase and see what happens. And it will say, oh, you have to log in here. And let's see if I remember my login. And to log in. I don't want to save it here. And I get this warning again. You're about to upload 33 edits to Wikidata. Please check them carefully. Now I have checked all of these here, and I can add a few other things here. So adding number of students in fall of 2020. Just a little thing here as an extra summary. And then I'll press upload. And this one will go and now start actually editing on Wikidata. And we see how quick it actually is here. Or decently quick, at least. And all right, that one is done. Now let's see if we go back here now to, this was this was Gothenburg, University of Gothenburg, and I'll reload this page. Hopefully we have another value next to the 37,000. Yes, so 37,000 might be the current one, but in 2020 it was only 36,003. And we can see here that this is important from Russian Wikipedia, whereas this is a much nicer and more complete statement, so to say. And if we take a look and inspect the actual edit in the history, we'll see it's just one edit that did all of this. So if we inspect the diff, we see it made all of this in just one go. If you do quick statement, this will do this as separate edits. And then there's a nice little thing here. It says details. So if you click the details here, it'll actually show you that this was what we call an edit group, or sometimes referred to as an edit batch, but I think edit group is the right here. So if you ever make a mistake and miss something, it's not uncommon that you do that, then there's always possibility to find this, and you can undo the entire group in a batch. So if I thought that, oh, for some reason this was wrong, I can go here and undo all 33 edits. And 33 I could click through, but if you made like just 1500 or something like that, that would be very tedious. But then we have a there. And someone else can also come here and discuss, and there's the discussion page for this. So you can have a discussion, oh, should we modify this or something? So it's really good for the keeping it with the community spirit. So I think that's more or less what I wanted to show you today. We have looked at, you get some data, you make it in some kind of order so that you can import it. When you import it into OpenRefine, you had the possibility to import it in a number of different ways, but you also, after importing it, you have a very powerful things where you can actually transform the data and make it suit your need by using these different kind of transforms, or just editing, or by selecting certain parts of the data with the facets and the filters. We didn't go deep in there, but there's a lot of different things. You can say, I just want things that are, I want to remove that everything that are empty because I don't want to work with them in some column or something like that. We can just look at it. Like if I only wanted to update these, I would go and say, let's make a facet here where by empty string was not the thing that we wanted. It should have probably have been by null. Yes, and now it didn't apply anything, but if I go for false, we only get the ones with the values. So that's a very easy way to, oh, I want to either overwrite this, or if I knew they were from the same time, I could say, no, I don't want to change those. I only want to work with those that didn't have values. So that's a very useful way to use the facets to just select parts of the data, possibly based on what's already in Wikidata, thanks to the possibility to get the data from Wikidata after you have reconciled it. There's one more thing that I want to add to as a good to know, because sometimes you have data where you already, let's say, now I'm just gonna add it. Let's say you had a QID from Wikidata. So then you could actually reconcile it towards there, and there's a shortcut here. So instead of add columns from reconciled values, or start reconciling, which tries to guess, you can say this is exactly it. You can say add identity identifiers, add entity identifiers column. No, is it? No, use values as identifiers. That's the one you want to do. and then you'll say, yes, in Wikidata, it's this. And now if I run this, we will see this is count font count, which is one of these fun things. So now it reconciled towards that. I'm not going to use this for anything, just to show you that it's very quick to connect it. If you have the Wikidata ID in one column, then you don't even need to reconcile. Then you know it is this, and you can just tell OpenRefine, use it as such. Any questions? We have a few minutes left here. You can either unmute or write in the chat.
Do you know if there's a limit to the amount of statements or records that you can upload in one go, for instance?
I don't think there are any hard limits on that at all in OpenRefine. I know there's some troubles when you try to do too large batches in quick statements, which is also a reason for keeping it in OpenRefine. But really, OpenRefine should be really good at handling very large amounts of data. It's mostly, I guess, it's, do you have the time to to do it all? But I don't think there is any technical limits there.
What about like while uploading to Wikidata?
I don't think there's any limits there at all. Then it rather becomes a community limit.
Yes.
Sort of like, is this to be treated as a bot upload? Because and we are a little bit loose and fussy on Wikidata compared to other projects, which what is considered with these powerful tools. Is it totally automated or not? I think, and this is only a weak consensus, I guess, on Wikidata, is that if you have looked at all the edits the tool is going to make, with like you have reviewed it with your eyes, then you don't need a bot account, because you could just have done them yourself. You have looked at everything. But if there's so much data that you couldn't possibly know that you have looked and see that everything is going to be all right, and you're just hoping it's going to be, like, the algorithm says it's going to be all right, but you haven't checked if there's something odd in all the data, or you couldn't do it because there's tens of thousands, then I think you should probably go for asking for a bot account.
Cool. Thank you. Don't know if there are any more questions. Either way, we are getting close to lunchtime here. I know you're a bit later than us.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I speeded through a little bit with my technical issues here, but since we recorded it, you can go back and watch it again and pause in between and see what I actually did.
Selima says, great presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we will try to put it all on Wikimedia Portugal's YouTube channel, hopefully next week, and we'll send all the links to everybody. So thank you very much, Jan. It was really incredible. And yeah, so para toda a gente que volta à tarde, nós vamos estar online a partir das 2h30, talvez um bocadinho antes, na verdade. As apresentações arrancam às 2h30. À tarde são um bocadinho mais teóricas, embora com alguns casos de estudo, de abertura de património cultural através das ferramentas Wikimedia. E, portanto, juntem-se a nós a partir das 2h20, mais coisa, menos coisa. Eu vou deixar o Zoom ligado, portanto, vemos daqui a pouco. Thank you so much, Jan. Hope you have a nice weekend.
Thanks again, and
we'll see you soon.
Good luck with the rest of this. Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.